take it. Or Randy, you can sit up front. Okay, I just want to say hi to this monitor as far as
So, and you want to stand, were you in the between us? Yeah. So just stand right here.
How's everyone doing today?
Doing good?
Good.
Everybody got some cookies? Gotta keep the sugar up.
We're good. We're
Really
graduating.
great.
We're really happy.
Really happy.
We'll see how this presentation goes.
Yeah.
Do the
Maybe
same.
we'll
Like,
be back
gotta
next
wait. We gotta
semester.
wait for a second.
We just can't get enough of the J school. We just love it.
Oh yeah.
Maybe.
Never enough.
Do that.
Maybe.
Everybody's doing it.
I think we're just waiting on Liza right now for a little bit, and then we'll be ready to start, probably.
What'd you do with all the men?
What? This is an all-female team, actually.
We kicked him out.
So, yeah.
The engineering group that's doing this project has 10 men and 1 woman.
Oh, okay. We just need to come together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me what your name is.
That's for the end.
Oh, it's for
You have to
the
wait.
Yeah.
It's a surprise. We have a name. Don't give it away yet.
We're just waiting for Liza.
It's a secret.
I think we get to tell some jokes right now.
Yeah, comedy routine. Okay. And then just so Chanel is just scooch over. So yeah. Yeah, Chanel's gonna be right there. We have coffee and cookies and stuff over there if you want any, Liza. Yeah.
Coffee.
Cookies, coffee.
Lemonade, juice.
So while you're doing that, Liza, I'll just kind of reiterate who's here, right? So we have faculty here, Valerie, Ching-Ming, Patty, Mike, Kelly, Mike. And then Carl from engineering is here. You're the communications person. Right? And then Carl Nelson is mechanical engineering. Yep. And we mentioned Associate Dean Jones is here from engineering, so appreciate it. And then clients, Randy Peters from engineering and Liza from
Environmental health and safety.
there it is. Cool. So thank you all for coming again. And I'll just turn it over to
Okay. So we just want to begin and say thank you guys for coming to our capstone presentation. We've had a lot of fun this semester as a team in putting this project together. We have learned a lot over this project and also the last 4 years. So thank you guys for getting us to where we are today. So with that being said, we're going to introduce ourselves and then we'll start our presentation.
Hello, I'm Chanel Atwood. I'm a part of the Public Relations and Media team.
My name is Emily Bohutty. I am the project manager as well as with research and everything else.
My name is Haley Hamilton and I'm the account executive on this project and I did some of the creative as well.
Hi, Megan. I was in charge of art direction and creative.
Hi, I'm Gloria Kambulu and I worked on research.
I'm Ricky Mueller and I'm part of the Public Relations and Media team.
I'm Anne Marie Schneider and also part of the Public Relations and Media team.
So our client is Liza Garrett, who is the Stormwater Program Specialist for the Environmental Health and Safety Department here at the university. And this department received a grant to work on green infrastructure. And in this grant, there is a permit requirement that falls under the Clean Water Act. And outreach is a very large component of this permit. So that's where we come in, because we'll be working on promoting and educating the UNL community. Green infrastructure is a way to manage the effects of wet weather through sustainable facilities such as rain gardens, eco-roofs, and green streets. These structures work to reduce the pollutants in stormwater as well as treat it, and in turn there are economic, environmental, and social benefits.
So we broke our challenge into 3 components. First is to raise awareness in the UNL community. Second, inform the UNL community about green infrastructure and give them the tools to stay up to date. And finally, make green infrastructure a matter of public interest within the UNL community, so they want to stay up to date. So before I get into the insights of our research, I'm just going to give you a little bit of background of what we looked at. We used case studies from 4 cities and 1 university. We looked into some of the annual conferences held on green infrastructure, as well as the annual competitions, specifically the EPA's the Rainworks Challenge. For primary research, we had a survey as well as intercept interviews, which were conducted on the East Campus and City Campus unions. And we reached out to different faculty in various departments around UNL for expert interviews. So the 2 key insights we found, first was the importance of signage. According to a document of case studies released by the EPA, the simplest and most effective means of education and outreach in green infrastructure projects is signage. It can be as simple as the New York City sign just stating this is a green infrastructure project, or it can be a little more in-depth, like the Philadelphia sign, giving a little bit of information about what the project or the specific green infrastructure project is. And our second insight was related to media. We found that most campaigns did not have a strong presence in social media. There was more of an emphasis in traditional news broadcasts or newspapers. But through our primary research in our survey, our students and faculty responded that the way they get their news about UNL is through the Journal Star, the Daily Nebraskan, the UNL Facebook, and UNL Twitter page. Our target audience is the students, faculty, and staff of UNL, so it really encompasses the whole campus.
All right, so next I'm going to talk to you about some of the objectives and the strategies that we want our campaign to encompass. So using marketing tactics, we wanted to increase the attendance of stormwater or water conservation events that are held at UNL, and our goal was to get 1,500 people to attend those events. And then we're doing this by creating a more innovative and educational symposium that emphasizes the importance and benefits that green infrastructure has to the UNL community. And then using communication tactics, our goal was to increase the awareness by 25%, taken from the baseline of our survey that we took before we started coming up with these strategies. And we're doing this by creating opportunities through education that really focused on the story of our journey of stormwater, that created a conversation and elevated motivation from our audience.
So at this point, you guys are probably starting to wonder, what the heck, why are we here? What are you guys are going to be presenting today? So that's what we were doing also a couple weeks ago too. So we're doing research, we're coming up with strategies, we're coming up with the objectives, and finally we come to a conclusion, our positioning statement. So when we were feeling a little bit lost or maybe going the wrong way, this is the one thing that kept our team in place, and we always went back to it and referenced it throughout our building of our campaign. So I want to read it to you verbatim. So our campaign it's an awareness initiative that educates and encourages the UNL community to know the functions of green infrastructure and the journey of stormwater. So with that being said, I would like to present with you guys kind of that big idea that you've been waiting for, UNL Green Week. So this is a week that happens here on campus. It's a symposium events. It was inspired by some things that you guys are probably familiar with, like UNL Language Fair and the Design and Justice Symposium we had last year. We felt that these are kind of things that really work on campus, you know what I mean? When you give the students and the faculty and staff everything kind of once in 1 week, you're going to be a part of something regardless. If you're walking on the street, if you're going to go to one event, or if you're going to participate with social media, we built this so everyone can participate individually and comfortable as they would. So with that getting said, just like a weekly calendar, what we all live by, we're going to walk through our campaign by day. So starting off with the day, I'd like to start with Monday. So for example, on Monday, you could go to the art exhibition here at the Sheldon. This would also be a little bit before the exhibition, or the campaign, excuse me, so folks are getting the idea that something's going to be happening. So in this exhibition, we would be working with the Sheldon, like I said. It'd be a curated art exhibition. We'd feature how green infrastructure works, because you're probably still wondering right now, really, what is green infrastructure? It takes a very long time to understand. So those visual components would tell you and help you understand. We'd also show some images of the evolution of UNL's campus, some of the student-based projects with the engineering college, and it seems like they're working on some as well. We'd be able to measure the number of attendees, but our goal here is to have 1,500 eyes at the Sheldon.
And so this is kind of our event poster that we'll have posted around campus, and we'll have flyers for at these events. It's the schedule in a shorter, kind of more simple fashion. So it'll have each event and what the times are and where they'll be at, so the students can keep up to date and keep that in their back pocket for when they're wanting to attend one of these events.
Okay, so after maybe you just attended the art exhibition the night before, we arrive at Tuesday. So to the events that would be happening on Tuesday, we'd invite Jeffrey Sachs. He's a gentleman that I've been following for a couple years now, and he's kind of the claim to fame. He's the father of sustainable development. So he's incredibly inspirational and innovational as well. So during this keynote speaker with Jeffrey Sachs, we'd be able to measure the number of attendees, and our goal here is to have 1,500 visitors. So with that being said, kind of the reflection to see if it's working, we would also have gained relationships with, kind of the influencers on campus, like Matt Waite, who works at our college. We would encourage him and let him know the information, and hopefully he would send us a tweet. So also another little thing you could possibly do on Tuesday that you'd find out from the website is the 30-minute info session. This was inspired from the UNL Language Fair. It's where you can go in for 30 minutes with just a couple of other students and a couple of other professors, and they kind of just give you the lowdown. What is green infrastructure? What is it doing on campus? How can I identify it? Just very simple things. So you'd be able to sign up for that. Also, we'd be able to measure the number of attendees, and we hope to have about 150 staff, student, and faculty come to these. And then, for example, maybe a student would find out through one of our promoted Facebook posts from our page.
And here are some more deliverables on the creative side. We have a rebranded website here. So it's still the unl.edu address, but it'll be with green infrastructure, and this will kind of be the hub for Green Week as well as the rest of the year. So you can sign up for weekly newsletters, you can see all of our upcoming events, whether it's during Green Week or not, depending on how things go. And then we also have an information tab to kind of show over infographics and do some simple learning, show some simple learning things that people can look at and get information on if they're curious about what green infrastructure is. And then we also have a social media handout here. So it's a tangible print of our Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, anything that you need to contact us with, it'll be on the sheet. It'll also be a handout as well to give out at events. So it'll be able to discover all the social media channels, and we want to have a goal of passing out about 1,500 of these to students and staff and people around the campus.
Okay, so now we're getting up at Wednesday, and we're getting a little bit closer to our big idea. So maybe on Wednesday, you're a student and you're walking to your class, and you see this new sign in the flowers, something that you haven't seen. It kind of throws you off. It's something new on campus. So we would implement these signs right here, and it would show, it'd be the landmarks of where the green infrastructure is. And then during that day, if you were on a walking tour like the student here who discovered us through our Snapchat, which a lot of students discover things on Snapchat, so you'd be able to discover on Snapchat, use it, and then if you're on the walking tour, it'd go hand in hand. I did skip over one thing, my apologies. Also on a Wednesday, we would have a panel. It would be a little bit more casual than the forum here. So we would invite some professors, Department of Environmental Health and Safety, the people that work for them, so people would be able to ask questions and present information. So we'd be able to measure the number of attendees, and we'd hope to have 200 people.
So this is kind of our signage, as you saw on the previous slide. We want to have these around campus. This is just one of many that we would like to create. Just a short sign. We wanted to include some Braille on there, that the words say journey on there, just to be all inclusive and to include everybody in the journey so that it's not just singular to one group. So we have this. We also have this tin box here that will be. So the sign will be here annually. It'll be here all year. We'll have this tin box, and we will put different programs in there 4 times a year, so we can keep the students up to date on the information and make sure that we can get people looking at what we're giving out. So we want to change those 4 times a year with about 1,000 prints in there, so hopefully 1,000 people taking them. We did create kind of a prototype of our sign here. The main goal of the sign was to have this clear middle so we could show the journey of a raindrop and have the water collect in the tube, like so, when it rains. So you can kind of see water build up and kind of see where the rain goes. That's kind of going back to our main idea of following the journey where raindrop goes, keeping up with the journey.
So now we've arrived here at Thursday, which you could participate in a forum, if you will, in the evening. So this would be very casual, and we would invite, and it would depend every single year who's working on projects and who's running kind of the clubs and the RSOs in the community. So it'd be just a collective of staff, student, different clubs, and we could measure the attendees here, and we'd hope to have about a goal of 100 people. You're just going to see an example of a couple other Snapchats. So maybe some students heading to the forum, they're pretty excited, and they found out through our Facebook page. And then last but not least, we're here at Friday. So this is kind of our guerrilla tactic that we did. So we would build a very large mural that would sit in the Union with all the social media interactions throughout the week. People are hashtagging Green Journey. We are following that hashtag, and we are printing out these photos. So there's a couple here, but our goal is to have about 250 different pictures, and it's everyone's individual experience of green infrastructure, if they participated in it or not. So we would print those and kind of glue them up there. And they would find out through some of our different social media channels, and that's just an example.
Yes. Sorry, no, continue.
Okay, sorry. So we've kind of gone through how we started, some of our research. We came to our target audience. We really learned who we were focusing. We came up with the marketing objectives and the communication objectives, and then we finally got to our big idea, UNL Green Week. So we just wanted to recap there, and we just wanted to say thank you guys for coming.
So that is our presentation by Lady Boss Agency. We hope that you guys realize that we're very passionate about this subject, and we just like to thank you again for taking time out of your day to listen to us. And now we wanted to open the floor to any questions that you guys may have for us.
We can start with Liza and Randy.
I noticed that your target audience was UNL students and faculty. Did you consider visitors and the number of eyeballs that you get by parents visiting and visiting athletic teams and things like that?
Mm-hmm. That was definitely a consideration, but being that we are starting at the foundation, we are starting completely, this is a new subject, for the more of the public interest, you could per se. So of course we would want everyone to know, but we really wanted to hone in on the UNL community, the UNL family. We felt that we had to give them the information first before we start inviting other people in. So, but there's things like the Jeffrey Sachs Innovational Keynote Speaker that would maybe attract some of the parents and visitors, but we're sticking with just the community for now.
Well, and we felt as a possibility with the signage was, you know, in the new student enrollment, they go on tours around campus, and so they can point that out on their tours, hopefully, if the tour guide is interested, but that's where we wanted to begin.
Well, I thought the interpretive idea, the interpretive plaque with the journey of the water was good. Just thinking that that would be a 365-day a year, year-round presence that would be stand on its own aside from the intensive activity that you've laid out for Green Week.
Completely.
Yeah, so I was thinking that along the same lines and the fact that our student turnover, it's great for us to want to educate the students. Obviously, they're our main objective. initiative into the future so that we don't just educate one class and, you know, we don't have the sustainable effort.
I think that our goals are that after this week, we'll create more of an awareness within students, so that could lead to planning of events annually. But first, this is our goal to get it out there and get it into the community, and then thus inspiring students and faculty to do more with green infrastructure from what they've learned. And that's not to say that we can't do Green Week every year, but this is kind of a first-year trial run kind of thing, and we want to see how successful it is, and then it could continually go on throughout the years.
And then Liza, kind of continuing with the idea of UNL Green Week, it's something that could be used every single year. Yes, it's not the outreach of everything, but it's a foundation where every year we can plug in a different speaker, a different kind of art exhibition. We can work with different students. We can work with folks like you know what I mean? So it just gives that every year we have this week and it's taken over. So, I mean, of course, if this happened, I think for 10 years, I think we'd be in a good place. You know what I mean? So this is just something that we could plug in year after year, but we wanted to build something for you where you could change things.
I appreciated the social media portion of this because, like, your initial research suggested that's not how we have traditionally done this, and I think that we're going to have to move away from the traditional outlets.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome.
Couple of comments. You're all very poised. I think you need to remember that your audience is out here. Don't look at the screen. Look at us. And notes. Don't look at your notes. Make sure that they're internalized when you do an oral presentation. Slow down. Take a deep breath. Slow down.
So I think this does a good job of like getting awareness out there, getting people interested. But let's say I'm a student, you've ignited this passion and fire in me in Green Week for green infrastructure. Do you have any ideas for what I can then do with that passion? Like, is there some club I can join or some congressman I can write or something like that? Like, what's the next step?
The next step. So there are pre-existing many clubs here on campus, believe it or not, that deal and kind of have that green family. So there are things that you can participate in that. There are also courses that you can sign up like in the fall. That's not quite our boundary, but the next step in our minds of where we're thinking is like digitally taking them some places. So if it was at the exhibition or a speaker or something like that, they get inspired. So
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm 100% answering your question, but
Yeah, I think that what Haley was saying is that we do have a UNL Green Club here that kind of, it's not just to like recycling or one other thing. It's for kind of a whole myriad of things. And so that's a way for somebody who's inspired to go up and go to the Green Club and say, I think this is an issue that we could take and we could run with and we could do more with. So that's kind of what we were thinking in terms, and there's other green clubs, but that's the main big green club where things could happen for people if they wanted to get involved and wanted to have more doing with it.
Yeah, and then going off that's why we wanted to do so many different things. So that's why, like, there's the forum, there's the panel. We're inviting the people that are already, passionate about this and doing hour. We can't, make you be in a club, but we're going to give you the opportunity with the people and the information, and you're going to have the one that makes the step and say, hey, can I join your club? But we're putting everyone under the same roof for most of the part.
And we also have, in our student government here on campus, we have ESC, which is the Environmental Sustainability Committee, and they were a big part of making UNL a foam-free campus. And then we also do have the Environmental Leadership Program for underclassmen, which prepares them to have the skills and knowledge to work on sustainable projects on campus.
There's also the New Green Fund, and I see a lot of different varying avenues that green infrastructure could go towards that. In fact, if you guys wanted to put a proposal together to actually put your elements of your campaign into action, I highly suggest you do so. But I think the main thing of all of this would be that we would want, the raising awareness is so good, but the point behind it is not just to know that green infrastructure is out there, but also the pollution prevention portions of this. So how to take it into your daily lives and not contribute to contamination in storm sewer.
kind of a two-part question. One is, when you look at the UNL community here, do we have an inventory of obvious green infrastructure to which we can point this potential audience? And the second part is, what green infrastructure would have the most appeal to the audience that you're targeting?
You wanna answer it?
Yeah, so we do have multiple, maybe you should take this first part, I think you know.
Okay, repeat that one more time, so I can.
Do we have enough green infrastructure around to show people?
We do, because we have some here on the main campus, and then we have some on the east campus, and some things even around innovational. The great thing, we didn't really quite talk about this too much, but there's a lot of construction going on in town, you know what I mean, right now, and that's including P Street right here, where journalism school is so close to. So we saw the evolution of that. It's not just UNL, it's something that's starting to catch up in the Lincoln community in general. So we would have enough landmarks to be able to identify and kind of create that language.
And I think that, you definitely identified a big deficit that we've got around not just UNL, but the city.
Yeah.
With the fact that we actually do have a lot of these assets around town and around campus that aren't identified at all.
We sort of talked about that at the mid-course thing, to contrast it with gray infrastructure, which there's a lot of,
Yeah.
and point out that this could be scaled up. UNL's a leader in green infrastructure that can be applied, where you see a lot of conventional parking lots.
Because when we were kind of doing our research, and I think all of us became experts this past semester identifying green infrastructure in Lincoln
We can
and
see it
around the
now.
campus. Now we're all just like, we know which ones are. But those were some of the takeaways, was people aren't, there's no signs, there's no information. People don't know what it is, you know what I mean? So they don't know what it is, how are they going to respect it, you know what I mean? So now you look around town, there's no signs, and there's garbage everywhere, you know what I mean? It's completely, they're coming just these bins of garbage for another reason. So we have to, with those signs, we can tell them about the pollution or about the erosion problems. We have to identify it. That's what we really wanted to do.
But look how much just knowing a little bit
Yeah.
about it has made you be able to spot it.
Oh,
It is,
yeah.
and everybody, just by talking about this project with others, it's become so much more apparent that, hey, it's everywhere. You just have to kind of take a second look and be aware of it and know what you're looking for, kind of thing.
Yeah, so every new, just to let the entire audience here understand, every new project of a half acre or more of new or significant redevelopment will have a green infrastructure element.
So it's going to become a very big part of UNL and Lincoln, so I think this is kind of a really good avenue for us to begin, information and begin prevention of pollution and things like that. Any more questions?
Yeah, did you consider kind of depth versus breadth? So, and by that I mean, with the UNL Green Week, I think you've got a lot of panels and symposiums and things like that go into some depth, right? So you can really get to know green infrastructure.
Yeah.
Versus kind of getting more people, like giving a little bit of information to more people. I was just wondering if you kind of had that discussion and how you decided to focus on what seems like a little more of a depth strategy, which I'm not saying is a bad strategy, it's just that's always a thing to
And
balance.
these are things that we bounced off all the time, because of course we wanted to do everything. We wanted to do a year campaign,
Yeah,
but at the
$1 million
same time,
year-long
Yeah,
campaign.
that was the goal.
but we kept going back to, you have to start somewhere. You know what I mean? You have to start somewhere. So if we could do this for 10 years, I think our job would be done, and we'd be able to get that, and it would be able to be in a conversation. But we wanted, and we kept reminding ourselves, this is a foundational campaign. This is the beginning, you know what I mean? It's not 50 years of brand history or 100 years of brand history. This is a completely new thing. So that's why we wanted to kind of make it just more of a pop. So of course, in our plans book, and you dive into the media calendar and things like that, we have internships in place, and we have, posts going on, and we have our blog, and we have our website, and there's things that are going throughout the year as well. So,
And that's the idea behind these signs too, is to change out the information so when people do see it, it's going to be a year-long thing, so they can keep updated if they're new students, if they're returning, that kind of thing, just to make sure we're trying to spread it out to a year as much as we can, with
and
what
then
we have.
also put into consideration, sometimes when you give people just too much information, it's just in one ear and out the other, you know what I mean? So that's why we wanted to make something special and something that students could remember. And think we've all participated in events just like this and had a really great time, so why not, why fix it if it's not broken? So, yeah.
Any more questions? No? Okay,
Very good.
thank you.
Thank you.